Welcome to Ac3TV. I'm Sarah Deering, and in this episode we are very excited to welcome back Greg Tanna, Managing Director and Founder of Tanna Partners, to ask some hard-hitting questions about contact centre executive recruitment. Greg, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Sarah. It's good to be back. There's always lots going on in this crazy market, lots to discuss.
Well, you're obviously close to a lot of the activity within the industry. What are the hot issues at the moment?
Well, social media is still a huge topic of conversation out there, and with good reason, because the call centre industry kind of owns that channel. It's a very powerful channel. Outsourcing, offshoring, there's still a lot of consolidation happening there, so that's a point of discussion. And workforce optimisation, that stripping of the costs out of the back office in particular, that's still a massive opportunity for our industry.
So you mentioned social media. What impact is the changing social media landscape having on contact centre executive roles?
It's having a huge impact. I mean, this is a very exciting opportunity for the call centre industry. Before, companies could get away with just telling everyone everything was okay, thank you very much, through some corporate affairs management. Now, if you don't get the execution piece right, the whole world will burn your brand within 24 hours. We've seen that with United Airlines and a few other examples of late. So, call centre executives who have good social media wares are now more powerful than ever. And importantly, CEOs of major corporations are now talking about this in their boardrooms. Social media is high on the agenda, and the call centre executives manage that channel. So what a position of power now.
Well, speaking of powerful advancing technology, you mentioned in our last episode voice biometrics. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's happening in that space?
Yeah, Sarah, I recently attended a voice leadership forum in Sydney, and I was blown away by how far speech applications and voice biometrics have come. I think we're all pretty aware of where the speech industry was in this country. About 10 years ago, it was really set back a long way. But looking at the latest implementations, they're fantastic, and that has the capacity to strip a lot of non-complex voice transactions out of the whole equation. So for executives who have really good wares in and around speech applications or exposure to some kind of an implementation, they're going to be in high demand.
Now, previously, a lot of executives started on phones and worked their way up from there. Is this still happening? And if so, do you see the trend continuing?
It's still happening, but it's much harder than it used to be, say, 10 years ago. As this call centre industry evolved to become customer contact and started sucking in all these other disciplines of sales and marketing and consulting and analysis, technology, you're getting more competition now at the senior levels from people sort of blindsiding the traditional call centre person coming up through that isolated pocket. So answer to the question is more competitive. We don't know where that next executive is going to come from. They could come from any number of disciplines.
Okay, so for those just starting out in the contact centre industry, as a recruiter, what advice would you give them to best position themselves for executive roles?
Well, to my mind, rule number one is don't focus too much on the money. I see that with a lot of people just entering the industry. If you make the right decisions now, if you prepare properly, if you manage your career path, the money will come in due course. So what can you do now? You can find a really good mentor, a senior person within the industry who's been through that path, has been through all the trials and tribulations. Hop on some IT projects. Obviously IT is driving a lot of the solutions these days. You need to be IT savvy. Hop on some projects. Go and jump on some project management methodology courses and get some certifications there, because that's intrinsic to a lot of the consolidations and growth of contact centres.
So Greg, last question. If we can fast forward 5 years, where do you see things going, and how can executives prepare for the change to ensure they're still marketable?
Boy, the crystal ball gaze, wouldn't we like that? I mean, I think you'd have to assume that a lot of the inefficiencies are going to be stripped out of both the front and back office in about 5 years' time. So what kind of disciplines are still going to be relevant and in most demand? Certainly sales skills is always a requirement for good enterprise solution salespeople. Good client relationship management skills. There'll be a lot of service level agreement management and vendor management. Good wares with business process outsourcers and experience not just in Australia but overseas. Particular affiliation with the Asian countries and Asian work cultures, that will be in high demand, almost like an assumed, I would think, in about 5 years' time.
Great insight. Well, that's all we've got time for today. Greg, thank you so much for joining us again. It's always great to know what's happening in the executive recruitment space.
My pleasure, Sarah. I hope your viewers got something out of the episode.
Thanks for watching this episode of AC3TV. We hope to see you again soon.